Okay, welcome everyone. James Parker from jamesparkergolf.com, and we've got up Mr. Jordan Spieth, recent Masters champion. Very nice, likeable young guy from here in Dallas with a pretty good golf swing. So let's take a look at what's going on in his move. So let's start with the lower body. So you can see, bear in mind, the way that the swing used to be taught was keep your right knee flexed, try and load all the way over here on the right, in the right thigh, if you like, under the right foot. Try and move your head back over your right side. But it's all kind of changed, and Jordan won the Masters yesterday, and we're just going to have a look at how his lower body is changing. Knee flex affects his spinal movement, which certainly contributes to him staying centered and over the ball, which allows him to hit those great golf shots. So you can see in the takeaway straight away, this really is a one-piece takeaway. Okay, everything moving together: the club, the handle, the arms, the torso, the shoulders, the hips, and then added on to that to allow all that to move in one motion, if you like, is the right leg straightening and the left leg flexing. So you can see as we're going from P1 to P2, the right knee is already straightened up. That right knee's come back a good 2 or 3 inches already. So all that's going to happen during the backswing is that's going to straighten some more to free the hips up, if you like. Straighter right leg, straight right leg, or straighter right leg, should I say. More flexing the left knee, and this allows the right hip to move higher than the left hip, so that we can keep this center in the same place and also keep the upper body center in the same place, the thorax. So we zoom in on this swing, got quite a weak grip, okay, and you can see that going back, bends his left arm a little bit. If we put some lines up where his head is, put a line through the club, put a line through the elbow joint, if you like, put a line next to his left ear, put a line up from his right heel. So you can see going back, there's definitely no lateral movement, is there? That right knee might be moving a smidgen, okay, but I'm looking at the camera's rocking a little bit. If you look up in this corner here, you can see that the camera's rocking a little bit, so it's probably just someone holding it. But if the camera's moving a little bit, it's going to appear that right knee is moving laterally a little bit. But that right leg, yeah, it's kind of moving a little bit laterally this way, isn't it? Right knee, right? But what we're looking for is for that right leg to straighten, okay, left leg to flex, which you see on this video, okay. And by that right leg straightening and that left leg flexing, that allows the hips to tilt, not just turn, but also tilt and extend. And by extending the pelvis, okay, so let's think about it in another way. Let's draw a line there where his belt line is. And then by the time it gets up to the top, you can clearly see how that right hip is higher than his left hip. Okay. Head hasn't moved, which means he's just moved around a central point in his upper body as well. And to do that, there's got to be some left tilting in the spine. and there's also got to be some extending in that spine, in the pelvis, the spine, and the thorax. And that extending helps you get the butt end of the club high up here. Okay, if you don't extend, you'll find the butt end of the club, or your hands, to be a lot lower. So that extending is really important. So nice centered backswing, all produced, all allowed to happen by this straightening of the left leg, of the right leg, and flexing of the front leg. Produces a tilted hip turn, which allows his spine to then tilt and extend as well as turn to keep his upper body in place. Alright. So at the start, you can see there's a bit of tilt in his upper body. So I think he's probably got a little bit more weight under this foot at the start, and then just tilted his upper body back. So his lower body's almost been nudged forward a little bit. Okay, his belt buckle's been nudged forward a little bit at the setup, and then you can see how his head is nicely. Let's take those lines away. So let's say the buttons on his shirt here, nicely in the centre of his stance. Look, a little bit of head tilt. Okay, that's going to help him. That's going to help his eyes. That little bit of head tilt is going to help his eyes. I'll draw this in red. It's going to help his eyes see the club coming back inside, and also his hands coming back inside. Okay. So let's go up to the top here, and you can see he bends his left arm a little bit, and that's one of his. Like I said, he's got a weak left hand, but a lot of great players have played with a weak left hand. A lot of great players have played with a very strong left hand. It's just what you find works for you, but he definitely bends that left arm a little bit, doesn't he? So number one reason why people generally bend their lead arm is just not moving, not pivoting their body as well as they possibly could. So I definitely think he could get a little bit more sort of side tilting going on here, a little bit more extending with the thorax, and I think what you'd find when that happened is he'd keep his left arm a little bit straighter. However, it doesn't really matter that much when you make a move coming down like that. Okay, so it comes down into it. And he does extend and tilt going back, and then as he comes down back into flexion here, from here kind of extending, as well as obviously the hips moving forward, moving laterally. Okay, and the hips moving laterally as well as extending, which is caused from the knees moving back into a flex position. So we've gone from straightening the right leg and flexing the left to both flexing again. Okay, and this back into flexing with both knees moves the spine back into flexion. Hips are back to level now, look. Okay, whoops, that's not a very good example. Hips are back to levelish. Okay, which puts you back into flexion with your spine. But from this position, so back into flexion, and this is using the ground. This is using those ground reaction forces. Okay, so straighter back leg, flexed front leg, and then we're pushing down into the ground. So both knees are back into flex position as we push down into the ground. Okay, and this allows our arms to come back down in front of us, allows this right elbow to get back down in front of you. Okay, but once you get down to this position, maybe P5 or P6, then what we're starting to do is extend the body. So if you look at the position the body's in there, and then you look at the position the legs and the spine are in there, I mean, it's a totally different position. Okay, it hasn't necessarily stood up. Yeah, maybe a little bit with the head and going back a little bit. Right, but you very rarely find anyone who keeps the head dead still. There's always a little bit of head movement, which you find in great ball strikers. Very, very difficult to keep your head dead still. And that's with the best players in the world. So you can imagine what it's like for people who aren't moving properly. Okay, haven't got this change in the knee flex, haven't got this change in the spine angle, to keep the head relatively still. All these guys tilt, turn, and extend, and the head still moves just a little bit. Okay, so, but my point is, we're going back into flexion, coming down as our knees flex and push down into the ground with our feet, and then from that position, P, let's say P5, left arm parallel with the ground, to P7, which is impact. You can see how much the body's extending as the hips move laterally, and the body extends. Right, as the hips move laterally, we then got this side bend in our spine again, that tilt. Okay, but notice how we've gone from flexion to extension. Okay, and what he does really well here is, and this is what you see a lot of the guys on tour now, is that they're not allowing this club head to get past their hands. Okay, so there's no release. Okay, there's never any release. And what you find with these guys that aren't releasing are, as you come up to here, sort of P7 is impact, P8 is shaft parallel with the ground, P9 is right arm parallel with the ground. But what you find is, these guys are they're cutting out P8 and P9 and just combining them both. Alright, so right arm and shaft parallel with the ground. Right, so if you can video yourself and achieve that position, right, then at impact, obviously you're gonna have lots of forward shaft. You're gonna have lots of forward shaft lean there just before impact. Alright, you're gonna get this right hand bent condition, which produces the right arm flying wedge. Okay, and like I said, no release. The club head is going so fast, it's always going to catch up with your hands. And a lot of the guys now are kind of cutting out P8 and P9 and just combining it. So right arm and shaft parallel with the ground together. Alright, and you can see the amount of extension and side tilt going on as well. And then back up into finish. I've had some questions online about his footwork, and I actually worked out a little bit with his fitness trainer, a guy named Damon Goddard down in Dallas at Amped Fitness. I'll put the link under this video. Very good guy, very knowledgeable guy on how it all works, the biomechanics side, and they said that they're not even worried about it. They don't even worry about his footwork. Everything else is so good. And you can see there that pushing down into the ground, when then pushing up off the ground as the knees change flex. So it's right leg straightened, left leg flexed, back into both leg flexed. And then as you push up off the ground and extend your spine, tilt your spine away from the target, you can see how that pressure that is put down into the ground comes back up. And you can see kind of there, both feet are kind of off the ground, pretty much a la kind of Bubba Watson, lots of power. So you can see a lot of his, his power comes from his levers, his tilting, turning, and extending, pushing down into the ground, the change of knee flex, and also not releasing the club head. Okay, if you can video your swing at the range and achieve this P8 position where your arm and the shaft are parallel with the ground together, then you're going to have very little club face rotation through the shot, and you're going to be able to keep that golf ball going straight down the line. Okay guys, so I hope that helps. A little insight of how Jordan Spieth gets his power, where he comes from, and you can see there You know how he's gone back down into flexion here, and then pushes back up off the ground, extends his body. Very nice, powerful golf swing, and you can see the club face as well. That toe is not turning over. If you look at the club face here, I mean that toe is just not turning over. Most of his misses, I was watching his misses at the Masters yesterday. Most of his misses are to the right. Okay, does not miss it to the left. So very interesting. If you can cut out one miss, you know, if you can hold that club face off, if you can not release the club head, okay, the centrifugal force, the speed that that club head is moving on is always the club head's always gonna catch up with your hands eventually. But the idea of releasing your hands and throwing that club head at the ball, I think, is a terrible idea. You know, you want to feel, so if you watch someone who's just won his first major, I think he's going to win a lot more. When you look at how he controls that club head, how he's holding it off, if you like, here, right? You look at an old golf swing, by this point the right arm's here and the club's up here. So big release pattern with his hands, whereas you're going to get a lot of misses to the left with that one because the club head's overtaking your hands. The club face is turning over, so you're going to hit a lot of shots left. Whereas you watch this guy, if you can go around just having one miss, which is a miss which is going slightly to the right, then you can always have dead aim at the pin if the pin was here, and set it off slightly right and draw it back to the target. Or if you do miss it, then you're going to miss it just to the right. Okay, so he's confident that he's only got one miss, and that's because of his release pattern down here. Extending through the shot here, belt buckle moves forward and upwards as he tilts backwards and extends. Look at the extension in his body there. But this is the key position, guys. Right arm and shaft parallel with the ground. Really maintaining that flying wedge here with the club in your right arm. No release. Okay, guys. Any questions or comments? I'd love to hear from you. If you're watching this on my blog, please leave a comment below. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to leave a comment or ask a question, and I'll get to it when I can. Cheers.